Hi, everyone. We have the pleasure of being joined by a special guest today. His name is Philip Anderson. He's a former NFL player who spent most of his career playing in Europe. However, in 2019, he was signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And during his career, he built a reputation as one of the best kickers in Europe. Philip is now working with a cutting-edge sports technology company called Trackman, who some of you may recognize from golf. Trackman have since branched out to work with multiple sports, including football or soccer, depending on where you're based. And they now work with some of the top football players and coaches, advising them on kicking techniques and set play delivery. So, Phil, I don't know if you wouldn't mind just elaborating a little bit more on your really interesting story from NFL player to where you are today.
For a brief introduction, like Billy said, in 2019, I had my chance with the NFL, and later on, I finished my career in 2021 with the Hamburg Sea Devils as my last season. After that, I found the natural move for me was to still be in sports, and Trackman seemed like the obvious choice for me. I first was introduced with Trackman during my when I played, using our American football system, um, as we also do, and it felt like the natural move. So yeah, that's something like that.
Brilliant. And Philip, would you mind telling us a little bit more about how the Trackman software works?
Sure. So we are a instant feedback tool, you could say. Let me just try to share my screen here. I'll show you how the actual app is working when you're on the pitch. So this is our application we have on our iPad device. So what we do in in football is that we are radar technology. So it means that we are tracking the ball. So it's no chips in the ball or anything. You can use any ball that you want. So it's very non-intrusive. And this is the home screen. So right now, what we're doing, we are working on corner kicks, penalties, and free kicks. And just to show an example of how the system actually works and what kind of feedback you're getting, I can show you one of my previous sessions I've had. Let's take this one, for example. So a lot of things going on the screen right now. This is the summary of the session. So here we have a shot list on the left side of the screen. You can see here, and you have what is the result. You see that by the circle. I can go more into detail about that. So what we're trying to look at, the thing is we can track the whole trajectory of the ball, meaning that we can tell you a lot of things about the ball. Not only the speed, but you can also see we can tell you about the spin rate, the pull direction, which is essentially which way of the spin axis of the ball, and where is it pulling. And you see the last number here is the average wall height, which means that since we can track the whole trajectory, we know exactly where the ball is at any given point. So we measure out 10 yards, and then we see, all right, the ball is 2 meters and 55 meters in the air. So let's go into a kick, for example. Let's take the first one here. So we have different views that you can look at as a player and a coach to get the information you want. But I think let's start at the dashboard where you get most of the information given. It's not all, but most of it. As you can see, you get the ball speed, you get the distance, something called the G factor, and then you have the wall height up here. So, and you also see the pole direction and the spin rate. So what you also get now here is a video of the actual kick. So we have you can see over here, you have the iPad. This is the one you're looking at. And then what is actually recording is an iPhone. It's also a Trackman app. And everything that, like, as soon as this ball is kicked here, a few seconds goes by, 2, 3 seconds, and then you have everything that the radar measured and the video cut up. So you can actually work on your technique and work on refining what are you actually trying to do here? How do you want the ball to fly? You can get that within seconds while you're on the pitch. A good example here to show is our 3D view. where you can actually see the trajectory. You can see the yellow wall you see here is the opponent wall. And what we are really emphasizing on, and I can show you that, is the blue wall is our own team's wall, and this is to block the keeper's view. And why is that important? Because what we're trying to do, goalkeepers have an like immense reach in football, so we're trying to like slow his reaction time. Um, we can start from the goal line. What you see here, the red area, is what the goalkeeper can cover. And we've based this model off the reaction time and the reach of the average Champions League goalkeeper. So you in practice now, you can actually work on some of the best goalkeepers and actually know, all right, well, how big is my window in the goal to actually score? So you don't have to place it in the top bin, as you can see here. You have more room, meaning that you have a larger margin of error that you can work with and become like and increase your scoring opportunity. That's the first part. Then let's move out to the yellow wall, which is the opponent wall. Today, when we practice, most teams have a wall that might be 1.8, maybe 2 meters high at max. But what doesn't take account into is the jumping wall, of course. The wall is like usually jumping means you have to clear the wall higher. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it jumps, because if you know your ball, like you see here, the wall height on this particular kick is 1.71 meters, meaning that the wall can never jump that high and catch that ball. So we are trying to emphasize the technique and routine about actually don't worry about the wall, because if you're clearing the wall, we can tell you right away, then there is no wall in that sense, if that makes any sense. Then the next part is the blue wall, which is our own wall to show. So we have calculated also this is the reach of the goalkeeper that you have if we block his view, meaning that we slow his reaction time down. If the goalkeeper can see the ball from where it's being kicked, it enhances his reaction time. He has more time to move in the goal. So if we unblock the keeper's view, we have a button for that. This is actually how much he can cover, meaning that you're making it, as soon as you come out to this distance, you're basically making it for this particular kick with this ball speed. It's impossible for me to score almost. I have to put it all the way in the top bin. So this is something we're emphasizing. So it's something that is also not just for the kicker himself, but it's also for the guys in the wall and for the coach to understand the impact it has on the particular situation. And this is basically what we're trying to help these players and coaches with, to understanding the ball flight and what is actually possible and how much room do you actually have in the goal.
Just a quick question from me there, Phil.
Mhm.
I think it's really interesting that you've actually that data model you've produced to give a representation of where we think the goalkeeper could save it. I think that's really important. And just the point you made as well about blocking the goalkeeper, I think, it's really interesting that this can actually inform to some degree the sort of free kick routine as well as the actual kick. Personally, I think teams could be a lot more creative in terms of how they do block the goalkeeper as well. So something else to bear in mind for sure.
Yeah. It is, it is a full team effort to actually score a free kick goal today in today's age, because as you see, goalkeepers are like they are understanding now today that it's actually able to like actually able to dip the ball, and that's when you gonna go out into more of a kicking technique and how to actually manipulate the ball flight. And this is something I tried to with my experience from American football, where my whole job was to kick the ball. That was the only job I had. And as a football player, it's just one part of many things that you have to do. But there is you need a good routine about it in a set play to be able to reproduce and increasing your scoring opportunity. And I saw a lot of similarities in set plays and in a kicking situation. And I think that that's where some of my experience can help these players. I know a lot of good free kick set piece takers are like phenomenal, have great routines. But it's also that I think there's so much we can learn from each other, from different situations, from different sports. And that's the beauty of it. Working in Trackman is that we have so many different sports and working with so many different athletes, but a lot of times there's a lot of things that go like that we can learn from each other, especially like the mindset of going into these situations. How do you create the confidence in 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 trying to like do a kick here, and actually having the confidence of saying, hey, this ball cannot go in, cannot not go in, so to speak. Um, and I think that it's important. The more you know about your ball flight, the more you know about your technique, the more confidence you have in yourself. And I think that's the most important part when it comes to executing a play like this.
And just another question, Phil, around the capabilities of the software. Is it possible to actually split up individual player data? So, for example, we might have a player who's much more successful taking free kicks from a certain location of the pitch compared to someone else. Because from my experiences, often the direct free kicks, they're just left to the players to decide who wants to strike the ball. As where could the Trackman app advise the coaches about who based on the data who's actually most suited to strike the ball from certain set play situations?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's always been a. And then you see in teams that when we don't really understand the ball flight, but it's more like um, it's just something like you're just doing the kick, um, but knowing what type of flight you have a tendency to kick, maybe it's telling us, all right, you're actually more like suited to kick from further out, or you're actually suited more to kick from further in. So we know as a team, we know where do we have the most chance of scoring and who has the biggest chance of scoring. Um, we do different things, but we have our insights, for example, where we can see from all the sessions we're having, we can filter also in the time period. Right now, we set on all time. Of course, this is just my data. Um, but as you can see here, is that different types of, if you have different players that have different kick styles, you can see where you're actually more suited from scoring. And it also means that you need to change your location where you're kicking from in practice to see where it's kicked from. So if we take just the showcase player here, see he had 2 sessions, or if you take Philip, he had multiple sessions, but where's he actually kicked that session from? And this is just the beginning. We also have an API integration where you can start to like make your like get like create your own dashboards and own get all the data from your team and your players to kind of make your own insights. But this is one way to understand the performance of how well are we actually executing our free kicks and who has the biggest chance of scoring.
Brilliant. And last real question from me was just, are you able to say how many teams are using the Trackman software and from what leagues do these teams come from?
I can't say exactly which teams are using it, but what I can say is that we have most of our customers are in the Premier League and the Bundesliga, and we have some national teams as well. We are in other countries as well in Europe and in the States. But yeah, that's as far as I can tell right now. Sorry.
Yeah, and obviously the rise of the set play coach and set play analyst has been a big thing over recent times, particularly in the UK and across Europe. How has the Trackman been received by coaches and even by players when they've been using it on the training ground?
Coaches and players loves it. Players especially. It gamifies the situation a bit more because it can become a little bit stale if you're putting up your mannequins and you have a goalkeeper in the goal and you're just kicking it and getting no feedback. But now, when you see players actually when they actually clearing the wall and they're scoring, but they're also like, did I score? Did I score? So it makes it more fun. I would say after when I've tested these systems and then working with it so much, is that kicking without the feedback becomes like something is missing almost. It is something you're looking for, and it's nice to actually see the video right away, knowing or trying to understand what am I actually doing. If I try to do something different, how does that impact my ball flight, and how can I understand it more so I'm able to control it more.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, and yeah, can definitely see the value in the product for sure. If anyone else is actually interested in hearing more about Trackman, then we'll include the details of the website, etc., in the description of the video. But yeah, just like to say thank you, Philip, for your time. Really fascinating to hear about your career as well as how this unique piece of software works as well. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome here. I'm always happy to talk about it, and thank you for having me today, Billy. Thanks, guys.